Hi, this is Blake, and this is a brief introduction to the new version of the Tasking Manager, Tasking Manager 3. This is going to be pretty quick. I'm just going to go over it very quickly. There's a longer version of this video if you'd like to see it in a much longer version, but this one's going to be pretty short. So this is the landing page. This is the page that you first come to. It would list current activations or current campaigns and give you a link so you could find all the projects to them. You can click right on Start Mapping. You can see I'm already logged in, so you should go through the process of logging in, and then the very first thing that you should do is go to your profile. Please click on Add Contact Details and put in your email address. This way, any feedback about your mapping, tasks that are validated, tasks that are invalidated, new projects in a campaign, thank you notes, updates on how the data got used, these will come right to your email instead of you having to check in the Tasking Manager to find that feedback or to get that information. It's only visible to you. We're not going to share it with anybody else. This is the only way we have access to it. OpenStreetMap doesn't share it with us, so please put in your email. Explore this page a little bit more. This also shows all the projects you've contributed to and gives you a map, and you can go back and find the projects you've helped out with by clicking on the map. So really the first place you should visit is your profile. I'm going to go back to the front page. This is the page that you'll always land on. You can click on Start Mapping, or you can click on this Contribute. These are the exact same things. Contribute means find a project to contribute to. Start Mapping means find a project to contribute to. So I'm going to click on Contribute. This is the list of projects. It's very similar to the Tasking Manager 2. The one thing that I want you to notice is over here along this side, this is the regular search box. You can put in a project number. You can search the full text if you're looking for a project of some sort. That still works the same. We've also added a difficulty, so all of the projects have a difficulty rating. Most of them end up being very good for beginners. There will be projects that you need an intermediate level of experience for, or even an advanced level of experience for. And this is primarily generated automatically based on your contributions to OpenStreetMap. If you are an intermediate level or an advanced level mapper, please look for projects that require your experience level. It's very hard to get people with that experience level to contribute to projects. So if you are intermediate or advanced, look for projects that need your particular skill set. You can also find projects by organization, so this will grow. At the moment, there's only 3 organizations, MSF, the Gator Community Mapping, as well as hot projects. It's just an easier way to find projects if you're used to working on projects for Red Cross or MSF or Chai, whatever it is. Look for projects that are related to the organization that you're interested in helping. We can now group projects by campaign. So if there's an activation like a hurricane or an earthquake, that would probably be a campaign, and it would be easy to find all of the projects that are related to it. There might be other campaigns that are going on. There's one for Mosul Dam, Mongolia. It just gives you a chance to contribute to an overall mapping project or an overall mapping campaign more than just on the project by project level. You can also filter these by if you just want to look for projects that are road mapping, or you just want to look for projects that are mapping waterways or buildings. This is another way to help you kind of find projects that you're interested in working on. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this Mosul Dam project. The first thing you might notice is once you're done, or if before you start, you can go ahead and share this project on Twitter or Facebook. We really encourage you to do that. Try and get more people active on this, on the project of mapping. If people are brand new, they can always go to this Learn tab where they'll find very short 2-minute videos that can get anybody up and running mapping pretty quickly. So feel free to use the share button if you are working on a project and you think it's cool. The top of the project is always going to be the full description of the project and all the detailed information about the project. And then if you slide down a little bit, you can see we come back to the same tab concept that we had in the Tasking Manager 2. There's no longer a description tab because the description's always up at the top. This is probably the biggest difference is in what's on these tabs. So always read the instructions. You can see that the map over here looks pretty much the same. The legend is a little bit bigger. We now call projects or tasks that are ready to be mapped. They have no color. They're labeled as ready, and it just means they're not colored. If they were gold, mapped. We also have an option for bad imagery. So if I go ahead and check out this task and I say Start Mapping, you can see that it would be, very similar to what I'd done before, where now I'm launch my editor. When I'm all done, if I have to stop mapping because I didn't have a chance to finish and I just need to go do whatever it is I have to do in my life, I would say stop mapping. If I feel like I've mapped everything completely, I've looked at the instructions and everything they asked me to map, I mapped, then I would say mark is completely mapped. If for some odd reason this imagery was bad, let's say it was cloudy or low resolution or something along those lines, I could go ahead and mark it as bad imagery. And so now there's a legend here, an entry for bad imagery. I'm going to say stop mapping. Another pretty cool thing, another pretty cool option we have is down here, you can actually look at aerial imagery now when you select a task. So if you want to get a sense of what this is going to look like before you check it out without going through that process, now you can go ahead and load imagery to see what it's going to look like. Maybe you don't have a lot of time, so you want to pick a task square that doesn't have a ton of mapping in it. Turn on the aerial imagery and get a look at it before you start. Maybe you notice that this is, way too many buildings, kind of gives you a sense of what's going on without actually switching over. But now there might be some other options here after we launch. At the moment, Mapbox has made sure that we could use their imagery. So we certainly have the Mapbox imagery layer. We might have some other layers as well when we launch, but at the moment it's Mapbox. You click on a task to select it. Say start mapping just like you have in the past. When you're all done, you mark it as completely mapped, or you say stop mapping, or perhaps it's bad imagery. You can also split tasks the exact same way. You can't split tasks that aren't square. So if I click on this and I say start mapping, I have no option to split. If I click on a square task, well, let me reselect what I had, and let me say stop mapping, and let me select a completely square task, and I say start mapping. Now I could go ahead and split that task. And this is exactly the same as before. For some odd reason, it might have been too long. Looks like it was going to take me an hour or 2 hours, so I split it and make it smaller. Select a random task works exactly the same way. The one thing that will come up is if I accidentally click on this, I'm going to get a message that says it's not in a state that lets me map. And that means I need to be on the Validate tab. And so there's a separate video that's an introduction to validation. So look for that video if you're experienced enough to do validation, but just be aware that you might get this message that says something like, this is not in a state that allows validation, and it usually means you're on the wrong tab. So switch back to the map tab because you want to get started mapping and you're not doing the validation process. The other really important tab is this questions and comments tab, and this is a project-wide help facility. This is where you can ask questions about the project. You can say, I don't understand which imagery to use, or there's some other problem. Could somebody please take a look at my mapping? The title of this might change. We might change this to Get Help because it's about getting help. And so another cool feature on this, if you have any questions when you're mapping, this is a place that you can come and you can leave a question. And there's a link down here that says Contact the Project Manager. And if you click on that, it will automatically put in the project creator's name. And so now I could leave my message and say, not sure which imagery. And I could say, add a message. And now the project manager, who also probably put in their email address on their user profile, they'll get a notice that somebody asked a question about this project, and hopefully they'll come back and answer your question. People who are validators or more experienced mappers can also answer questions. If you're a new mapper and you want to you're getting ready to get started, you might very well review the questions and comments before you get started to see what other people ran into. But those are the major changes really from the mapping perspective, is that we have two tabs, one for map and one for validate. You'll probably focus on the on the mapping tab. You can switch the imagery when it comes to finding which project or which task you want to select. And please visit your profile and explore that and make sure that you share your email address with us. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.